Okay, right, great. So yeah, so I'm Adam. I work for Abaco Systems with Mattis, Gavin, and Sam. So I work in the test automation team, automating tests and building our test framework for other people in the organisation to use automating tests. So, so today I'm going to be talking about a package manager we've adopted in Abaco for distributing our internal software and third-party software internally. And it's called Chocolatey. So before I get into it, I just want to have a quick slide on our giant female. So the person I chose was Becky Holberton. She worked for the Ballistic Research Laboratory during World War II, doing ballistic calculations for the US Army, which was quite crucial. She was one of the first original programmers of the first electronic computer, ENIAC. She invented breakpoint, which I think is something that we can all be thankful for. And she did countless other things, working with Grace Hopper, early standards for COBOL, Fortran. It was said that she solved more problems in her sleep than, and you can't see that, other people did while awake, because she would get these brilliant ideas overnight and then come back and share them with people. So I thought she was pretty powerful character. Right, okay, so I probably won't dwell too much on this because I think a lot of us, and we've already been over it in the previous presentation, have some familiarity with package management and why it's a good thing. But if we go back to basically some of the traditional methods of deploying software internally, so consider if you've got a whole floor of test stations, you've got developer PCs that you might want to distribute software to, and how you can actually distribute that. So obviously the most basic form, you've got, oh, yeah, sorry, I missed that slide. Yeah, so you've got different requirements for different sort of things. So productions, test stations, you want easy maintenance, you want things to be very tightly configured, quick to roll back if there are problems, things like this. And then for developer stations, you want to be able to quickly update to the latest versions, latest testing versions, quickly check new versions, and all these sort of features. So you have some parallels, but then you've got some sort of different requirements. But some of the, obviously, basic ways you can do this. So the most basic is obviously just have a zip file. Just throw your zip files out to people and say, unzip this here and use it. Obviously, that's completely uncontrolled, relies on all the user to do the right thing. You can't really keep track of it. There are different types of archives and things like that. One of the new things is you can find that things just get blocked by Windows if you distribute libraries or DLLs and things like that. So obviously, I think everyone agrees this is probably a bad way to do it if you've got any sort of scalability. In the Windows world, most common way to do it now is executable installers. So basically, you build your things, you build your software into executables, you get executables from third parties, and you install them. So that will work, and obviously it takes a lot of the reliance off the user to do the right thing. They can just press next, 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 and do the install. But there are some problems with that, in that it still doesn't really give you the control and centralization that you might need when you need to scale across a lot of computers. You are still responsible for hosting these, distributing them, and versioning them, and all this sort of thing. So it can be difficult, and of course, one of the biggest problems with them is that you might need a lot of installers for a lot of different components. And someone's got to go and install them all, and you've got to click next, 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 and do this. You could script it yourself, but then that's another uncontrolled sort of scripting thing. And you've got to manually manage the whole thing. So this is okay in small scale, but that's the thing. It's all about the scalability. And once you try and scale this up, it becomes pretty unworkable. So this sort of leads to, oh yeah, another point. It also encourages, because of those problems with lots of installers, encourages lumping loads of things into one installer, which causes its own problems because you can't upgrade individual components. So yeah, it's pretty bad thing to see, but Linux has already solved this years ago. So Windows uses, the norm is executables. Linux uses packages since, time's gone by. Centralized repositories, packages, dependencies, and all of this sort of thing. And this sort of way of thinking is now catching on in the Windows world as well. So enter Chocolatey, which aims to be the package manager for Windows. So basically, if I wind back a bit, Chocolatey is built on something called NuGet. So in about 2010, I think it was, where it was introduced, Microsoft wanted a way to distribute .NET dependencies and code modules and things for .NET developers. And they built their own package management platform called NuGet. And that way, developers could just install modules into their Visual Studio and they could just use them. So, and if anyone's used, I think like JavaScript and NPM packages, there's a lot of these sort of package formats that are catching on in programming languages for this purpose. So it's actually quite a mature system NuGet now, because it's been around since 2010 and it's got a lot of packages and it's used day in, day out by .NET developers. So what Chocolatey thought of doing was basically build on NuGet as a general purpose Windows package manager. So take that concept that's been used for source code and development and make it more general purpose. So it's meant to be automation for Windows and a general purpose package manager. Keeps the sort of way of being command line driven. It's free and community supported, it's open source, but it does have the paid versions which have extra features. And it's also easily integrated into a lot of industry standard tools for configuration management and continuous integration. So I wish I could get rid of that, but in other words, Chocolatey aims to be the apt-get of Windows. If anyone's used Debian-based Linux, they want it to be equivalent to how Linux manages its packages and software.
If you want to read that, okay, you just have to be online.
Right, yeah, yeah, everyone can connect if they want to just read that sentence. Then. Right. So as I said, they've obviously modelled it over the way that Linux does its packages and more specifically the apt commands. So it's very similar. So if anyone's used apt-get on Linux systems, it's almost the same in the way of its syntax and its commands that you use, and the outputs are very similar as well. So this is just a very quick table to show you that the syntax is almost identical, which is good, because if you're familiar with that, then Chocolatey is really the same thing. So you don't have to learn a whole bunch of new syntax to get to use it. It supports features that, again, are familiar to apps, such as package pinning, which makes packages not automatically upgrade if you want to make sure that this stays in the same version on a particular PC. And it's configurable through features set on the command line. So there's a lot of different options you can set for how it deals with things, and whether it automatically runs scripts and things. You can configure that all from the command line as well. And one of the best things about it is it's very well documented. So the Chocolatey website has a lot of documentation on there. The tools themselves have lots of help information. The whole thing is just a very well documented project, and that makes it very easy to learn, in my experience.
Would you say it's better documented than TestStand?
I can possibly comment. Yeah. 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 So basically, Chocolatey is built. Chocolatey is built on PowerShell. So I don't know if anyone's had much experience in PowerShell, but PowerShell is the Windows sort of object-oriented scripting language that has been introduced. It's built on the .NET framework, and what it offers is very tight integration with Windows. It's a very powerful language, scripting language. It's all object-oriented. It's got very tight integration with Windows and the operating system as a whole, which means all those underlying features are available to manipulate. And because Chocolatey uses PowerShell scripts for installation and uninstallation and all of its workings, basically that means you can do so many things with packages, because you can script anything you can script in PowerShell, you can do in the installation or uninstallation of a package, which means you can have packages that do all kinds of different esoteric things if you need to, and set up stations in very specific manners, changing registry values, all that sort of thing, which is good. Yeah, it's probably difficult to see, but this was an example where if you try to automate installing a driver, for example, that needs one of those trusted certificates installing, and it always pops up that box. No way to get rid of that with the silent switches of the installer we found. With PowerShell, we're able to take this certificate and put it straight into the trusted store of the PC, which means it's trusted automatically and you don't get any of that box. So that's just one example of how you can get around these sort of problems with PowerShell because of its tight integration with Windows. Right, yes. So when making a Chocolatey package, as I said, it's built PowerShell scripts. There are many helper functions that Chocolatey adds to PowerShell. So it's got its own set of functions which all do things that you would want to do as part of installs. So you can parameterize packages so that you can pass things in, install them in different ways based on, say, you could have a developer switch and a production switch for if you want the same package but in different configurations. You can unzip files, you can check whether you're 32-bit, 64-bit, you know, all the things that you would expect to be able to do with installations, you can do, pin shortcuts to taskbar. And because they've wrapped all these easy to use functions in, it's really easy to script. So yeah, so when you create a Choco package, so what a Chocolatey package looks like, basically is you have this. You have a new spec file.
Any chance you can use the?
Oh yeah, that's true. People online can't see that.
Will not be able to see.
Yeah, I'll just use my mouse. That's fine. You have the new spec file.
You can't see that online either.
You can't see that online
because
either.
you've only presented the PDF rather than the screen.
Ah, okay, right. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's. I did have it open. Did have it open. There we go. There's a new spec file. Right, I'll present this instead. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Right, cool. So yeah, I may as well show a bit about a new spec file. So when you create a package through Choco New, it creates a big. Sorry, yeah, I think it's not here.
It's not there yet.
Not there yet.
No.
Loading.
Try again. It's not coming.
Okay.
Doesn't like that. Can you share the screen?
Yeah, I'll share the screen. I'll share the screen.
It really doesn't like it today.
No. I think everyone else's luck is like they all had to come at the end. I think all the technical difficulties, but yeah, it's still not showing.
No, if you just leave and join again, let's try that.
That's a brave thing to do.
Yeah, we can see that.
Right, okay, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, so when you create a package, it creates a bunch of skeleton files. All of these files are have a lot of comments in. So this is one that we've actually built and stripped out a bunch of comments in, but it creates comments for all the instructions for what to fill in here, what to fill in there. It's in an XML format, this new spec file, and this is the metadata for your package. So basically, it's the version info, it's the owner of the package, the authors, all this sort of thing. Dependency info here. So this is all what your package is and what it's going to include. And then usually, and you don't have to touch it, there's a subdirectory called tools, and then that's where all your files or installers go, which will actually package in. So that's a new. All right.
Sorry, do we have a question there?
No, that was Pete. Right, now I've got to open my presentation on PowerPoint. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's that is. So that's what a new spec. Very quick look at the new spec file, but it creates all the different files. So in the tools directory, you've got your install script, an uninstall script, and a perform modify script. And these are the main things that are going to happen when you install it. So the install script, obviously, you script everything in there to run your installer. So as I said, because it's PowerShell, it's very flexible. The Chocolatey helper functions include things. If you've got a already built executable installer, all you have to do is wrap a Chocolatey script around it, call a function in the script, and it will install it. And then it's already got a bunch of comments with different silent switches for different types of installer. So it's all sort of laid out for you to just plug it in and play. If you've just got a binary, you can actually delete all of the scripts because you don't need it. If you just drop a binary into the tools directory, it will install the binary and shim it so that it appears on your path all automatically. You don't have to do anything. The only thing you might want to do is if you want to create a shortcut, you would have an install script for just creating a desktop shortcut. So the key is in its flexibility, is that it can do whatever you really want it to do. The good thing is as well, so that I talked about when you run the Choco new command, it creates the whole skeleton of the package. You can edit the skeleton as much as you want, and then actually package that up into a template package that you can use. So when you create a new package, if you want a specific template that you've customized, you can create that, and you can create names templates. So if I've got ones for packaging up TestStand deployments or something, I create a template files for doing that. And whenever I create a new package for that, it uses that template, and I've got less to actually customize in the package itself, which is for workflow. That's very useful. For example, we package up custom steps by category, and they're all individual packages. So creating those using the templates is much quicker now, because you just create a template. I'll create a template where you literally just drop the files into directories, and it's got a generic install script that will work for anything, and that's it. You just package it and you're done. Fill in the version information and release notes and stuff like that. So yeah. Right, yeah, it's a bit small. So that's about packaging. So how do you actually distribute this to the people who need it? So that's another good thing about Chocolatey. There's so many different ways you can distribute it. So because it's built on NuGet, pretty much anything that can host a NuGet repository can deal with Chocolatey as well. So you can, start basic. You can just drop them on a file share. That will work. You can use this very good Chocolatey server, which is a Chocolatey sort of simple server, which runs on just a web server, and will just host your packages from there, which is basically plug and play. Well, we started off using that, and that's really easy to set up. But then it supports all different types of third-party stuff. For example, things like Artifactory, which we're starting to use now. So a lot of tools that we're also hooked into other continuous integration, continuous deployment tools. It supports having the repository hosted on these, so it integrates with bigger, larger scale sort of things. So yeah, I already just did that really. How long? What am I doing for time?
You've got 12 minutes.
12 minutes, right? Yeah. So, well, I think I've got time to just about do a quick demo. So yeah, so I was going to do a quick demo on.
Yeah. Question from Jules. Do you know Inno, and if so, how does Choco compare?
I would say that InnoSetUp, yeah, we use InnoSetUp as well, and we've used it for packaging things up, and it's actually very good as well. We've actually wrapped InnoSetUp installers in Chocolatey packages, so you can use both, which is what we do, and that way you can distribute your InnoSetUp and just have that, but then you've also got the flexibility of having it as a package on the repository. And InnoSetUp is one of the things that's just supported. It's got a line that's commented out for all the silent switches you need, so you just plug in the setups thing, and then and you're away. Personally, if there's only a few files that you need to drop in and you know where they go, and it's pretty easy, you don't need registry entries and stuff like that. I don't bother with making InnoSetups anymore. I just package it in and write a PowerShell script to do it, because it's just simpler. But if you've got a lot of things and you've got quite a big thing you want to install, you can still build an InnoSetUp thing and then wrap a package around it. And it makes, from the end user's perspective, it really doesn't make any difference, which is the good thing.
I think it's we started off with monolithic installer using the test and deployment utility. Then the next step was basically when Sri worked with us, that the custom steps were kind of taken out of this, and they were deployed using an InnoSetUp installer. And now we are basically going more and more granular, and basically creating more and more packages which are with basically a dependency tree. But you'll probably, I don't know if you're going into any detail about this.
Well, I probably won't because I don't think I have time. But I was just going to show how you create a package. So as I said, it would just be Choco new. Oh, sorry, yeah, I've fallen first hurdle. Choco new in the package name. So, and this is where if you had a custom template, you would do -t in your template name, and it would customize the template that it's going to use to build the package. And then basically you can see that it's written all these files into here. So you've got all your new spec with your as I said, just what I showed you, but this is the base ones. And as I said, there's loads of comments in here which basically tell you everything you need to know about what to do. The versions are here, so I'll go into versions. So it's got version support, so it uses NuGet again for the versioning. So you've got you can just create dependencies and you can specify versions very granularly, which is good. One of the things that is missing, which is a bit annoying at the moment, is that the conflicts provide replaces, this sort of stuff isn't implemented yet. I would have liked to have conflicts so that I can ensure that two packages aren't installed side by side if they conflict, but that's not there yet. But yeah, that's what a base new spec. So as I said, once you get your head around it, it's probably best making a template where you've already stripped a bunch of stuff out.
Can I just ask, you have to generate that file, populate that file manually, so you have to point it at whatever files and whatever instructions and versions and stuff that you want, or is there anything that helps you do that?
Well, you can specify things on the command line, so a lot of those things have options. So when you create the new package, you can specify I want it to be this version, and then it will fill in the blanks if that's what you were thinking about.
I think there are also several levels of support. Basically there is a free version, which obviously, yes, you will have to fill that out. But I think there are tools which basically help you create those.
Yes. So Chocolatey for Business, which is the paid version, actually they provide a package builder where you can just point it to an installer and it will build all this for you and fill everything in, and it will be in like a wizard format as well. Yeah. So yeah, if you were looking for a more out-of-the-box experience rather than doing that, you could move up to Chocolatey for Business, which I think is pretty reasonably priced. I can't remember the actual prices, but it's not that expensive. But yeah, and yeah, so these are the install scripts. So I'll very quickly show like again, very heavily commented. For example, there's all the different things. So you uncomment the one that you're using for the silent arguments and stuff like that. It's yeah, as I said, it is all text sort of config file based, but because of all the comments, once you get your head around it, it's actually quite easy to work with. Yeah, and then they even create a to-do list of things that you should do to build a package. A lot of them are, I will say that a lot of this is to do with uploading to the community repository where they've got to think about distribution rights and stuff like that. So a lot of it is not really relevant. But right, okay, I better switch back. Right. I'm not on the right point. Got it. Yeah, so what about third-party software? So often we certainly do, we rely on some third-party software that we would have to repackage ourselves if we wanted to have it as dependencies and other things and things like that. So the good thing about Chocolatey is that there's the Chocolatey gallery, which is the community-maintained list of packages. So yeah, 6836 as of yesterday, I think that was. So there's loads of software that's already been packaged by the community and it's ready to go. And you can just use that. You can just do choco install. It says that just do that, and it will just install. And that way you can use those dependencies for your own stuff. But of course, the thing is that, as this says at the top, the nature of the public repository is that it could be unreliable. So what you really want to do is you want to internalize your packages. So if you want to rely on outside things that other people from the community have done, you want to take what they've done and make it internal to your business. So because of distribution rights, most of the packages that are for a big piece of software, like for example Adobe Reader there, they can't actually embed the installer into their package because of distribution rights and licensing and things, because they're making it available to the public. If you want to use it as an internal thing, you don't have that restriction because you're not distributing it to the public. So usually what you want to do is you can take that package from the community repository, tweak the install script and download the installer yourself, and then just embed it in the package. And then it becomes a standalone package that doesn't rely on web access or anything like that. And then it's completely under your control, which is much better in an organizational way, which I think, yeah, skipped over that one. So that's basically what the normal sort of package would do. The install script would go off to a web location, download the installer and run it. But if you don't need to do that because it's an internal package, that you're not tied by distribution rights, you can just embed the installer and just run it as a single package. So that's what we've done quite a lot. We've taken work that's been done by the community. We don't have to repackage that stuff ourselves. We just have to make it internal to our stuff. And again, the Chocolatey for Business has a tool. If you pay for that level, it has a tool that will do that automatically for you. You just point at the package, it will just internalize it, and then you can skip out the internal one that you can just push straight up to your repository. So yeah, I'll quickly go over this sort of stuff. So it's good for integration into CI tools because it's all command line based and PowerShell based. So the PowerShell scripts can be statically analyzed and things like that. So there's a lot of scope there for making sure the quality is good. Packages can be tested in VMs quite easily, and they provide a Windows VM for that purpose, which uses something called Vagrant to spin up a VM, and you can just test it in there. I hope to automate that. So we're doing that manually at the moment. We can spin up a VM, test a clean VM, test the package, and then wipe it afterwards. And I'm hoping to be able to automate that at some point so that actually the whole testing of the package could be automated.
It's a bit like Docker for Windows.
Yeah, Vagrant is not quite. It's meant for spinning up disposable VMs, basically. But basically, they provide a Windows image with Chocolatey installed and everything like that. And yes, there's another thing about the versioning is that you can separate versions into released and pre-released. So if your package has a version which is a number dash and then anything, so usually you would put beta or alpha or something, that doesn't appear in the normal Chocolatey feed if you're doing Chocolatey installed or Chocolatey list, unless you do a dash dash pre option, which then shows you pre-release packages as well. So that's good for sort of being able to split between stuff that's released and stuff you want to test out on certain machines. You can use that function to sort of separate those two.
One question here.
Yeah.
Link to the previous part actually. I probably missed that. So from Cyril, I probably missed that part. But is there a LabVIEW API in order to embed it into applications? Would help to get updates like new plugins. Also, I know that for TestStand there is a way to version restore installation from within the product with Neo ATP. I'm wondering if I can do the same thing with Chocolatey.
I'm not sure. There probably isn't a LabVIEW API or anything like that. No, I don't think so. One of the things that I've had success with is because the new spec files are XMLs, they're very easy to parse. So if you want to write a bit of code that can look at versions of packages, it's pretty trivial to do so because it's all XMLs and it can just be parsed like that. But I don't know if that really answers the question. But
yeah, Cyril, just let us know also if you have a follow-up question to that also.
Cool. Oh yeah, one of the other things it can integrate with is continuous deployment tools. So for big scalability, if you've got lots of test stations, you can set up tools such as Puppet, Ansible, Chef, which are big configuration management tools to make sure that all your stations are the same, they're all set up the same, they will set them up automatically to your specifications. And the good thing about Chocolatey is it integrates with all these tools. So I think they've got a diagram. So yeah, it's a bit confusing, but the good thing about it is just it does scale very well. So you can start off with just having a repository on a network drive, and then scale it all the way up to a whole system where you've got packages going from your continuous integration pushed up to repos automatically, and then deployed automatically by tools like Puppet and Chef and things like that. So because they've designed it with this sort of scalability in mind, it's very flexible like that. Yeah, I think I'll probably won't go into the Puppet side of things, but I think I'll probably stop there. Yeah. So, any questions?
With those the Vagrant VMs,
Yeah.
Can you customize what's installed on that? So you can install like LabVIEW and other bits on that VM.
Yeah, I think you can take their VM, modify it, and then take a snapshot of that, and then use that as your base VM, which is what we do as well. We set it up at a very base level, and then we snapshot that, and then we run it from there. We try and make it as clean as possible because you want to make sure that there's nothing already on there that's making the package appear that it's okay, but then you deploy it on a normal system and it's not. So often you want to test your packages so that if you just say install this package, it needs to be able to have all the dependencies in place, obviously, to bring everything up so that it works. And if it doesn't, then you need to add more dependencies. So that's mainly the way that we use to test it.
So generally, at Abaco, as I said, we started off with a monolithic installer for the whole framework, operating interface, everything. This is now basically has been granularized into over 20 packages. So, which means, while previously, if you make a change to one of those components, you have to revalidate and re-release absolutely everything, which just takes a very, very long time. Now, the job of doing that is much, much smaller. And the Jenkins pipelines that we've set up, obviously, if there is a dependency between those, it will automatically rebuild packages which are basically lower level. So it's basically, if you do one on the lowest level, the whole chain will just get automatically rebuilt. Just makes the release of software so much easier.
So yeah, this is just the example of what I've got on my laptop. And it's a mix of our own Abaco system packages here, which is our own stuff, and then a bunch of stuff from the community repository. You can, I've installed Git and some .NET stuff and drivers and things. And then we've also packaged up some of our NI software, so the runtimes and requirements gateway, for example. So you can just install them through the package manager. You don't have to go anywhere else. So obviously, one of the things that we'll have to look at in the future is with NI moving to using their package management utility for installing their software. We'll have to evaluate how we can make them play nice together. Might have to wrap NI package manager calls in Chocolatey packages or something like that to make it work. But yeah.
Because I think I'm not confident that NI package manager will play nicely with like Windows calls, like for example, getting certificates into the trusted certificates.
Yeah, I mean
that's just because Chocolatey is based on basically getting directly into the .NET domain. That's why this works so nicely. So I have my doubts that, prove me wrong, but I have my doubts that things like that will be easy.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. I think it's either you wrap one in the other, or you separate them so that your runtime software and your development NI stuff is handled by NI package manager, and your own stuff is handled by another package manager, and you just have to make sure that you have to handle the dependency between those manually if you do that, because obviously you can't link them together. So yeah, but we started to use Chocolatey before NI package manager was really as mature as it is now. So
it still isn't mature.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is Chocolatey is obviously there is a very, very large community behind it. So the support that we will get is always going to be better than NI package manager.
Yeah, it's a big project with a lot of big integration. It integrates into a lot of even bigger projects. So that's one of the reasons we chose it. Yeah, has anyone got any more questions?
In that case, thank you, Adam. So I would